So thank you so much for attending today's session led by past president of the Rotary Club of Paulsbo, North Kitsap, Youth Service Chair, and a district training leader, Michelle Doyle. I'm Meredith Green, Assistant Governor for Area 9, past president of the Rotary Club of Paulsbo, and the past district trainer. And I'm honored to be a moderator for this session, strengthening our youth clubs through collaboration. So without further ado, I give you the esteemed training session leader and district trainer, Michelle Doyle.
Thank you very much, Meredith. So first, thank you for all of you who have signed up to attend this session. I've been involved in youth services pretty much since the get-go, since I became a Rotarian. Really taking care of our youth and our communities is my passion. And I've also noticed a number of your messages in the group chat area also indicate that many of you are involved in youth programs. And I want to make sure that you know that I would love this to be interactive. So raise your hand or unmute yourself and talk and chime in. But this session is meant to be a way to energize and share ideas across our youth clubs. So as the Youth Services District Chair, my hope and my dream has always been that all of our youth clubs would be sources of energy and vibrancy for each other, their schools and their communities. In my mind, wouldn't it be amazing if Interact or any other Rotary Club sponsored organization was the organization to belong to? And not from an elitist standpoint, but because the members make a difference with their service and everyone felt welcomed and everyone felt valued. And what if Interact clubs were desired and demanded in every high school, middle school, and even elementary school by parents, teachers, students, and our communities? What would that look like? That would be amazing. What if advisors, both our Rotary advisors and our school advisors, felt energized by working with our clubs? And I would love to talk about how we could get there. So I'm going to invite you on this path, of ideas that I'd love to share with you. And I would absolutely love to get your feedback and hear your ideas as well. So I want to thank you for checking into this session and contributing your ideas to the future of our youth services clubs. And you're going to hear me say Interact a lot, but I don't care what you call your club. If you call it Interact, Early Act, or by some other name. I just care that we engage our youth and help them grow in confidence and citizenship and competency. And remember that these youth clubs are feeders to our Rotaract clubs, our youth exchange programs, and to Rotary. So we're going to begin. So what we want to do, what we're going to kind of dive into today is providing encouragement and inspiration. We kind of break that down a little bit. We want to create a culture of collaboration. These are, again, high-level topics I'd like to cover. I would like to explore cultivating area-wide opportunities. So we're not just an island unto ourselves, operating through at our club level, but that we're exploring ways to work together across our district and even cross-district. I would love to have ideas about amping up the cool factor for our Interact clubs, making it the club to belong to where kids feel appreciated. And if you have a club like that you've already started, I'd like to know, what is your secret sauce? And how do we support each other in the formation of new clubs? So this was meant to be a breakout, but I couldn't figure out how to have each breakout session or group focus on these questions because there was no way for me to put up a whiteboard in each breakout. So what I want to do now is open up the floor to this discussion, okay? So in providing encouragement and inspiration, no kid wants to take the time to be part of something that they don't feel connected to. So what I want to explore are ideas of how can we draw out our kids' passions to help them and to help create opportunities where they can serve to their comfort level. How can we share or how can we use the successes of other clubs to inspire our clubs, and do we share our wins with others? How can we create an environment of belonging where the special skills of others are contributed? How can we guide with an empathetic approach to the many commitments that tug at our kids' time? And then what are the creative ways that we can come up with to celebrate their successes? And can you share with me how you do it? So I'm going to start with this first one of listening to their ideas. So this is where it's interactive. So raise your hand or throw something in chat. If you're involved in a youth club, what are some of your tips and tricks to making sure that kids feel acknowledged and listened to?
Hi, it's Derek Nunes from the Courtney Rotary Club.
Hi.
Every week I bring Timbits to interact, and it's a way for them to know that they're involved. And you know, if I'm not there, who's bringing the Timbits today? So I mean, it just seems like a stupid thing, but cookies or anything like that, you got listen to their ideas, what they want to hear. You know, it's hard to get an old guy like me to get the kids to take me serious at times, but they do. So.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you can coach the officers of your clubs to draw that out? Since, I mean, you bring up the fact that most of us advisors are, you know, parents or grandparents or older. What are we doing to help coach our officers into maybe developing that skill so that they can draw out create that culture in their club?
I did.
Yes.
Kathy.
Go
So
for it.
I'm with the Comox Club on Vancouver Island, and I'm currently one of the mentors with our Interact Club. One of the things we've done in the past that's worked out really well. Couple things. We have the kids do a sign up to bring treats, cookies or Timbits or, you know, whatever. We encourage them to bake it, but often they don't. But that seems to be really well received. Something that we started doing a few years back, so we started instigating an executive meeting. So it used to be just an Interact meeting every Thursday. And we found that we really weren't making a lot of headway. So we instigated an executive meeting on Mondays. And so us mentors would go to the executive meeting and we would just be a sounding board for them. We would, the president of the club would set up the agenda and they would talk about various things, and we would just be there to facilitate their meeting if they needed help. And then what they just, the executive was open to everybody. Anybody from the club could come. They were encouraged to come. And then what happened there would then filter to the meeting on Thursdays. Something else that we do is at the beginning of before the school year ends, the grade 7s that are feeding into grade 8 at the high school, they have a day at the high school where they come and all the clubs present, you know, their clubs and what's happening. And our club, a couple of kids from the executive will go to that and they'll bring cookies and they'll have a sheet of information ready to hand out. So when grade 8 starts, those kids have already been exposed to Interact. And then we just really try to encourage those kids to stay with us. So this year, I think for the last couple of years, we've had about 40 to 50 kids in the Interact Club, just depending. That's a couple of things we've done.
That's great. I would love to hear from Joey or Caitlin, who basically, you know, started out as Interactors potentially and moved on to Rotaract. What advice and guidance or ideas or tips and tricks would you like to give us on sort of drawing out ideas from the high school ranks?
I was just going to say my, I guess, biggest advice would be to not underestimate anything. I know it can sometimes be, but really the ideas or projects or whatever really have to come from the youth, and the planning and everything basically has to be done, you know, by them, and really your role as the mentor is there to, you know, await for them to ask you for help with certain things, and not necessarily to, and you know, in my experience, everybody seems to be pretty good at that, but it needs to be said over and over, I think, even still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Joey said, because if it's not something that they want to do, and I mean, this is, I think, still similar with us as adults, if it's not something you want to do and it's told to you to do, they're not going to want to do it. For me, what really encouraged me to keep going forward was those relationships with Rotarians. Like Derek said, the Timbits might not seem like a lot to someone, but they are to those kids. And I was always invited and encouraged to go to Rotary meetings with my Rotary sponsor club for my Interact. And they always really presented me with opportunities, which as like a greedy high school student, any opportunity to make a little extra cash or have a cool experience, I really wanted to jump on. So those two things were what encouraged me and now make me want to be that person to a youth. So that's my input.
That's great. So,
So I wanted to make sure if Marlene Oliver wanted to participate. I think you've been waving your hand, but
Yeah, so a couple of things real quick. In a lot of places, they allow Rotary to put up a four-way tent banner in schools. Somebody also suggested it should be in every government office, and maybe have a presentation at one of their assemblies when they have, 5-10 minutes to talk about Rotary. But I'd like to mention what the UBIC Rotaract Club did as far as a foundation. This is for Rotaract. I'd like Joey to comment on that, please.
Joey?
The four
Sorry, what?
And follow along what schools are trying to do.
What about the foundation? Sorry.
can you comment on the foundation of what you
Say
did
what
with the
the
Rotary?
Rotary Club has done.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. So as the Rotaract Club, our club established a foundation, which is a registered charity in Canada, the same as a 501c3 in the U.S. So, which I guess was quite an accomplishment for us. It's something that allows us to increase our impact or ability to fundraise and that sort of thing, particularly, in where we live. So.
Excellent. Well, thanks for your input, everybody. So we're going to go on to sharing the wins of our outside of our club. So how many of you think that it might be beneficial for your youth clubs to know what other youth clubs are doing and how they've been successful? Do any of you feel like, sharing what you're doing and hearing what other clubs are doing could be inspiration for your club? Just maybe even raise your hand or raise your hand physically in front of the camera. So one of the things I think would be amazing is if we could create a platform and a habit, really, of not keeping our good work to ourselves. And when I say to ourselves, I mean to our own clubs. I think a great habit to practice is to actually project and promote what we're doing throughout our district. And maybe we start small and we start with the area and we promote it with other area clubs, because these things can help grow our Interact clubs or our youth clubs. So are there any of you out there right now that actually do that, where you're sharing your good work and you're sharing what you're doing with other clubs in your area or in the district?
We work together, Victoria, on projects. We have at least 12 local clubs. Sometimes there's project local covers there. For example, the school, a Craig Flower School, that a lot of children come from disadvantaged homes. And every Wednesday we have a food distribution. The local grocery stores get together, and food might be not perfect or whatever, gets separated by chamber or club, and the students and members of the community come by and take what they need. They're fed. One time a woman came, she said they're living off her 92-year-old father's pension, and he'd be happy to get He's going to be happy to get potato and carrots for stew. And another time, First Nations young man came, and he's probably in grade 5. He was sturdy, and he told me his grandparents were raising 20 grandchildren. And I asked him how many bags he could carry. He said he managed 3, and he finished all the bags. I'd like to expand that into gardens at school that are well tended and well maintained at schools where the kids, and this happens at our grandson's school. They have an area where each class has a garden that the students decide what fruit and vegetables to plant, to expand that so that they have something to eat, because in a lot of places they don't have enough to eat. So there's just a lot of things that we can do to bring even elementary schools in. But for junior secondary and secondary schools, they like hands-on stuff. And there's always going to be some gardeners in there.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has to eat. And here we have organic community gardens that in parks that have been converted, that a lot of people come to, including seniors. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff we can do, but it's got to be what the community wants. We have to ask, what do the people want to do? And I think that's our biggest strength. What do you want to do? Go for it.
The point of sharing your wins outside of your club, you know, and learning about the accomplishments of other youth clubs is, it's a couple-fold. One is it can be highly motivating, as well as it can be very inspirational, and it can also give a lot of ideas to clubs who might be struggling to find something that might, you know, spur them on and give them excitement. But when they hear about what other clubs can do, and they see it's happening at the Interact level, at their level, then they can begin to realize that maybe they can do these things too. So I think it helps to break down barriers from that a club might be experiencing if they're struggling with attendance, or they're struggling with figuring out projects, or they're struggling with cohesion, is to look at the examples of other clubs around them, not so that they can feel bad, but so that they know that it's possible for what they want. You know, again, it's about communication and it's about collaboration. And I think the other benefit of sharing what your clubs are doing is so that as you create awareness that these other clubs are out there, if you're struggling to find your place, then maybe you can develop partnerships and work on projects together across clubs, because ultimately, I would love to see that happen. You know, and I'm not looking for these youth clubs to lose their identity and, you know, with their school, but I think the more that they can collaborate, the better and the stronger that they will be. So that takes me right into collaboration. And the collaboration is about recognizing the importance of everyone. So, you know, I've heard over and over again from many youth club advisors that, you know, if they might have really strong leadership in terms of their officers. They might have a strong president or vice president, secretary, or treasurer. But if any of you were in Meredith's session last session about leadership, sometimes some of these kids who are very much type A can take on too much and make other kids feel insignificant and irrelevant to the club, and it will discourage participation. And so I think it's our jobs to coach and guide our officers into really learning about what some of the strengths are for members of their clubs, so that they can contribute in a way that is comfortable for them. So maybe there's a student who doesn't really love to do yard work or whatever, but he's highly musical. Maybe there's 3 or 4 kids who are highly musical and then they're not really interested in physical labor. So so maybe you explore and discuss, well, maybe this group of kids would love to go play music at a nursing home, or provide music at a Rotary event, or use their talents to do service. Maybe some kids are really great at videography or graphic design, and they can contribute those talents and those skills in those ways. So I think it's really important for us as advisors and adults to guide our officers into recognizing the nuances of the differences of the students, so that they can feel included in a way that they can really shine and gain confidence and feel like that they're having an impact. And so does anybody have anything they would like to add or share about recognizing the importance of everyone in their Interact groups? Maybe some struggles and how you've overcome them.
I'll jump in on that one. We had a young man that was autistic, and he could sometimes be disruptive in meetings, but our co-chairs would make sure that he was involved and that he was never ever belittled or anything like that, and they kind of put him in a direction where they wanted him to go, and he was actually very good at, he had never. We do a pumpkin carving things for Polio Plus every year, and he had never carved a pumpkin before because no one would let him have a knife. But they worked him through it, and he had not a great looking pumpkin, but he was able to do it. So it's working. They made him part of the team. So it can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Meredith pointed out that Christy just joined from the Silverdale Club. Christy, I don't know how much of this you heard of my last discussion about collaboration, but is there anything you could share or would like to share about how your club ensures that they engage everyone in the youth club, and it's not just, that 80-20 rule where 20% of the people take on 80% of the work?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I think one of the things I really value, Chuck Craning and Elaine Burton really lead out in this area. And I think that they're encouraging and making it a real priority for our club, all of us individually, to establish a relationship with our exchange student and to really think of ways that we can involve them in our personal life when we go off on our own adventures. I think that one action alone has helped us to stay pretty involved. And then also, the Rotary parents or parent will try to bring the exchange student to everything that they possibly can think of. And maybe you're thinking more of it from the Interact or Rotaract aspect. I guess I was applying this more to our exchange student.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the leaders that are involved really encouraging that interaction. When we had an Interact club that was functioning, we let them know right up front, we have a seat for you, several seats every luncheon. Please come, enjoy a meal with us. Let us know how you're doing.
Yes.
Just trying to really keep that up at the forefront.
Yeah, so that came up in the last slide too, is making sure you invite your students to Rotary and include them in Rotary. Marlene Oliver is asking if our Rotaract clubs would like to connect with other Rotaract clubs for fellowship and mutual project support, and ditto for Interact. Caitlin.
Yeah, I know that my Rotaract club in the city that I live in Nanaimo, loves supporting the Interact club, and we often do joint projects together, mostly just for spending time together, a lot of hands-on projects. I think it's a great way to connect, and I know that when I was in Interact, seeing the students that were kind of graduating the year that I joined, they moved on to UVic because I'm from Victoria and joined that Rotaract club, which is an amazing Rotaract club, and I got to see what they were doing, and it did inspire me a lot. And I think having those joint projects between both Rotary and Interact and Rotaract and Interact and all around create for just a great fellowship and opportunity for like-minded people, no matter their age, to get together and do something positive.
And I think what you'll hear today in the theme of this is about doing joint projects. So I want everybody to type in the chat window right now. If you are involved with an Interact club or a Rotaract club, what I would love to see happen is that we do joint projects together within our areas and or within our district. And if you would like to encourage your youth organizations to do that, please type yes, and any ideas you might have for a joint project that everyone can do all at once, because the first part of November 5th through 11th, is actually World Interact Week. And that is something that I would really love to launch this year, is having every single Interact club do some kind of service project during that week. So please put them in your comments so that I can review them later. But if you'd like to work on a project together across the entire district, please let me know. We all know that high school kids these days just have a million challenges. One of the reasons I think we see such an ebb and flow in our clubs is because these kids are really torn between academics, sports, maybe jobs, maybe family obligations. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge these challenges that they're experiencing, which makes it even more critical, I think, to work with your officers to really organize the meetings and the planning, and to really kind of make the time that we're asking our youth to spend in Interact meetings or on service projects meaningful. And so, again, I would just love for us to be able to share these challenges with each other, as well as share ideas and solutions where we can get better at helping these kids balance and have that work-life balance. And when so many of us in the adulting world have trouble with that, but some of us got it down. So, again, just acknowledging their challenges, sometimes just saying, hey, I know you can't come to this meeting, but if you could make it to this work party or this event, just give us a half hour of your time. We would love to have you, or just come to our meeting. We'll buy you breakfast or we'll buy you lunch, and just keep them engaged, but while acknowledging, that these kids are sometimes stressed and they're spread thin. And then celebrate. So how many people forget to celebrate? Do we all celebrate when your clubs do, reach a milestone or complete a project? Do you guys celebrate? Well, if you do celebrate, what I would love to happen is that you just don't celebrate within your tight little Interact circle. I want you to celebrate with your Rotary clubs. I want you to celebrate with your area. I would love for you to celebrate if you have a Rotaract club nearby, to celebrate with them, but really, just make a big deal out of it. Interact should be fun. Our youth clubs should be fun. And, when you end up finishing a project and you get through something, we had our high school kids did a Fill the Bus campaign where they were collecting school supplies and literally filling a bus with school supplies so that they could donate them to kids who couldn't afford their own school supplies. There needs to be a big celebration after something like that. No matter how big, no matter how small, bring them into your Rotary clubs, recognize them, reward them. Maybe a certificate works, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a cool t-shirt. Maybe it's maybe it's a gift certificate for a local ice cream shop to say thank you. It's a personal note that says, yeah, you did this. Certificates are great for binders if they're trying to, keep track of their academic accomplishments and their service accomplishments for college applications and stuff like that. But, gosh, we really need to make sure that we celebrate. Joey, would you mind bringing your comment to the fore?
Sure, yes. It was from the previous, I guess, topic, but
that's okay.
I think yes, through both in Interactive, Rotaract, and other, or just engaging other young people. Whether if I know Rotary clubs will often send people, if they don't have Interact clubs, just young people to RILA, but these events often I find really inspire young people to continue participation, whether they are in Interact and then they eventually join Rotaract or Rotary, or from Rotaract and Rotary or other sort of Rotary programs. Engaging the young people in these sorts of things not only kind of will benefit them in their future sort of career or educational endeavors, they'll learn skills and expand their networks, but also usually these, especially Rotary specific leadership training or conferences and that sort of thing, really inspire people about Rotary, which is good. I think it's a worthy investment.
I'm going to go on to the next section, which is about creating a culture of collaboration. And so when I'm thinking about creating a culture of collaboration, again, throw your comments into the chat so we can capture them. What I think about is getting input and feedback from our members within the Interact Club. We want to teach this to the officers, and we want the officers to know how to reward and how to recognize and how to inspire others. Our job is to grow leaders, and we start with the officers, and the officers who are leaders learn to grow more leaders. So we want to create this culture of acceptance and inclusion. And between Interact clubs in the area, not all schools have Interact clubs. Is it possible to make connections at the schools from your Interact clubs, to make connections at other schools, neighboring schools, and invite students to participate in their service projects? And it doesn't have to be other high schools. It can be middle schools and elementary schools, but get out and invite them to participate in your projects. Our schools could be rivals in sports, but they don't need to be rivals in service and in life. So think about that idea of how you can collaborate with other schools that don't have an Interact club. Between Rotary and Rotaract and Interact, or Rotary and Interact, how often have you thought of your school's club to support your Rotary Service Club or events? So you reach out to Interact and say, hey, we're Rotary, we've got this thing we'd love your help with. Let's flip the model. Interact isn't here to serve the Rotary Club. I mean, it's nice that they do and when they do, but Rotary is here to serve the Interact clubs. So flip that model. You have a skill. Every single one of you have a skill that you can share with our students, and you don't have to be an advisor to share that skill. But if you know that there's a need, say you're great at videography, or you're great at web design, or you're great at social media, maybe you're great at project management, and there's those skills that your Interact club could use and wants help with, be there, be available to them, and grow that capability with them. Even like financing and budgeting and stuff like that. You can be a good mentor to these kids and not have to dedicate yourself full time as an advisor to the club. So, and then between area advisors, so let's face it, some years area advisors feel like rock stars. They've got clubs that really know what they're doing and they're just on top of the world. And then 1 or 2 years later, they're filled with newbies and kids who have no clue, and you feel like a total incompetent. I've seen it over and over again. So I think it's important for area advisors to have a forum where they can talk once a month and discuss their challenges and share ideas, and even just keep each other supported and motivated. And so I would love to see that happening at the advisor level. If that's something that you think would be valuable, let us know in the chat box. But the other thing is also really honing into on the school advisors. These people are gold. The teachers and the advisors who support us from the school district know these kids, and they know their systems and their procedures, and we need to really cherish and appreciate them. So invite them to Rotary meetings, you know, buy them, have your club's youth services budget kind of have a little pool for, you know, little thank yous to that Interact advisor. Maybe even set up a Paul Harris for them in their name through your club points, and really honor them, because, you know, without them, these clubs can't exist. Cultivating. So cultivating area-wide opportunities. Now, if we've done a good job, as we've discussed in these other slides, then doesn't it make sense that we'll more easily be able to cultivate area-wide opportunities? And if we're doing this and it's becoming a habit, then cultivating these area-wide opportunities becomes more natural and less forced. So what does it look like to cultivate opportunities, and how does it happen? Is it possible that we can develop relationships with other advisors and clubs so that we can have a greater impact on a project and boost up and support and lift up smaller clubs and help grow their ranks? So working with other area clubs, if we share our calendars of events and invite other clubs to join our events, our service projects could be more impactful. We can also work with school clubs like ASB and Leo. So it's not my club versus their club. It's like, how do we work together and be more impactful? But there's always room to work together. We could partner with local nonprofits. So, you know, maybe your board has a hard time figuring out some of the ways that they could make an impact in their community. As the advisor, you could start by creating a list of organizations that they could support with a work party or a function or a fundraiser. You know, looking at your park districts, your food banks, your homeless or youth organizations, or even your international organizations. A lot of kids do support international organizations. It's not that hard to do when you make those connections into those nonprofits. Sending students to RILA, and if you don't know what RILA is, it's the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, and unfortunately it was canceled because of COVID this year. But that is a great place to send your Interact students, and where they can meet other Interact students and maybe establish a goal for them to meet other Interact students and talk about some of the things that they're doing. But RILA is a great place for these kids to develop leadership skills, to learn how to lead, to learn how to nurture their teams, and to learn how to strategize, to learn how to manage conflict. It happens every March. Usually you sign up starting in December, enrollment begins, and clubs usually sponsor 1 to 3 to 5 kids, depending on the size of their clubs. And then finally, I talked about it earlier, the World Interact Week is November 5th through 11th. So I want you to think about New Year's. And what does New Year's Eve have to do with World Interact Week? Well, when it's New Year's Eve, really everybody in the world celebrates the New Year's, right? And the energy of the planet literally changes when everyone in the world is celebrating the coming of the new year. So that's the kind of feeling that we can get if we really focus some energies on participating in World Interact Week. So one of the things I want to do for this coming year is start to develop a plan where every Interact club in our district can basically put up something that they're going to do that week, and that we can promote that and publish it and really show our district and our communities what Rotary is about, and how these kids, you know, that we think we're gonna, you know, we have a generation of maybe kids who are entitled or whatever, but they don't exist. We got our Interactors are infectious, and we know that they're there for their communities, and they're growing as humans and as responsible adults. So I'd love to see us create that energy and actually accomplish that this year. Amping up the cool factor for our Interact clubs. So obviously these ideas are still all part of a progression. The more kids we can get into Interact and involve, the better Interact is in a school. It's the place to be. It's where you're accepted. It's where you feel like you've got something to offer, regardless of what your skill set is. Some clubs, some of your clubs out there might already be that cool club, and other clubs are struggling. So, you know, are there ideas that you've seen that have worked that have really been an inspiration for kids to say, yeah, I want to be part of that? And if you do have something to share, please put it in the chat box, and Meredith will interrupt me.
So I'm going to interrupt you.
Good.
And Christy put something in the chat box, which I think is kind of cool. And then Caitlin talks about an adventure program, which others might want to hear about.
Let's hear it. So start with Christy.
Okay, I was talking about this year, well, over the last couple of years, we've launched a program called Kids of Action, and it's really targeted at elementary and young teenagers. And what it is we just identify every kid that comes to volunteer as a Kids of Action. We've designed a logo, and we involve them in all of our hands-on projects and our service projects, and then really elevate them. There are times in the weekly newsletter that we send out that they're featured individually as a group. They've been, and some examples of what they participate in is bell ringing for the Salvation Army, packing bags of food. During the COVID quarantine, they've been meeting by Zoom on a weekly basis and working on various projects. We organized with the local senior center that the kids would all make cards. We'd bring them in one time, and they'd sanitize them and pass them out to these lonely seniors. Recognition of teachers. Last week we did a drive-by birthday party for a little boy with a pretty serious disease. And so just really trying to keep them focused on serving and volunteerism, and really elevating that in their life is such a valuable character quality to continue.
That sounds amazing. Are you the Silverdale Club?
I am, yeah.
Excellent.
So the Kingston Interact Club, I know, took that to a different level too. They basically adopted a grade school and started creating cards to send to that grade school. So every kid in the grade school got a card, or an elementary school got a card saying, you know, we care about you. And it may have just been a class, but I think it actually ended up the whole school. The counselor or the advisor said, you know, are you sure you want to take that on? I'm like, yeah, we do. And they got a lot out.
Stories. See, these are the stories that we want to get out, that we want to share, because how many clubs feel like they can do nothing right now because they're stuck at home? And you know, when you have a higher purpose, that changes your attitude about your situation. You don't feel pinned in by your situation. So this is the type of stuff that we need to be getting out and talking about, and which can create inspiration for other youth clubs to say, hey, why didn't we think of that? We could do that too. And have that impact. Because you always know, I mean, you know that when you do something for someone else, you probably get more out of it than the person who's receiving your goodwill, because it just fills you up. So Caitlin, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I had just mentioned, I'm not sure if a lot of clubs are aware. I'm also not sure if this is a program that also is in the States, but my Rotary Club that sponsored my Interact Club selected me to go on an adventures program, which is actually a vocational training service program for high school students. So I went on adventures in Citizenship, which taught me about Canadian politics, and it included flying me to Ottawa, and it was all paid for, and there was over 400 students there from across Canada. And yeah, it was a phenomenal program that was super cool for me to be a part of. I'm still in touch with people I went on that program. We're all involved in Rotary still. So they're like, along with RILA and local opportunities, there's also like countrywide and North America-wide opportunities, including like Joey with his MDIO for Rotaract. There's at all levels involved. So just other opportunities to think about.
Yeah, those are great ideas. Great ideas. Supporting each other in the formation of new clubs. Let's just kind of drill down on that just a little bit. So There are online training available on the Rotary.org website for advisors. It's available on Rotary Central, and one of the other things I would love to do is create a monthly or bi-monthly session where area governors can sit down with advisors, and advisors can work together on growing their clubs. I think there's great strategies for overcoming struggles that some advisors have figured out, and we know that there's an ebb and flow to this thing, especially as kids move on, but also advisors might move on. So I think it's really important to support our advisors. I am considering putting together an actual advisor training, not in DTA, but separate from this for new advisors for the beginning of the school year. And then when new club charters, I think we want to throw a party. We want to, and it can be in the area, it can be in the district, it can be virtually. But we need to be, celebrating, and there needs to be recognition and fun when a new club charters. You guys get a certificate. I know that, right? But, it should be more than that. You want it to be memorable. You want it to be exciting. Again, I am looking for people who want to support the District Youth Services Committee. I would love an advisor or liaison, and trainer. I'm looking for people in PR and communications. Somebody in my last session said they'd love to help me with that. We do have a bit of compliance and oversight that we do have to maintain. So somebody who loves to manage spreadsheets and, look at databases and follow up and do that, maybe, that's your forte, come talk to me. And then a vice chair to do my job, not next year, but the year after, because this is generally a 3-year commitment. And I'm wrapping up my 2nd year, and my 3rd year is finally where I'm inspired to do all kinds of cool stuff. So I'd love a vice chair to sit beside me while we really take our youth services organization to its next level. So how many of you know that we have this Unite District 5020 magazine, this amazing magazine? So every year, every month, Caleb Sommerfeld publishes this magazine, and Rotarians are invited to tell an inspiring story. So this is one way you can tell the story of your Interact Club to the rest of our district. It's so well done, and it's not hard to write. It's like 500 words or less, so it's not hard to write. So tell your story. I would love for us to get good at social media, both Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, if that works, YouTube, if that works. I sent Caitlin a link I went to the District 5030 training, and they have an Interact5030.org website and a Rotaract5030.org website. And it is amazing. It's really action-based. It's collaborative. It weaves the entire district together. Our website doesn't do that. And so we really could use a new platform for actually uniting our Interact and our Rotaract and growing it and making it easier for us to work together, both at the advisor level and at the club levels. Start using your hashtag Rotary 5020 Interact, and Caitlin can come up with one for Rotaract. But that hashtag helps to tie together all the work and the good things that we're doing within our clubs. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, just a quick hashtag Rotary 5020 Interact. When I do a web search, it comes up with everything related to that hashtag that pulls up. The Rotary citation, now many of you know about the club citation, I assume, but did you know the Interact can do a citation as well? There is a specific presidential citation for Interact. And I have a list of references at the end of this slideshow that you guys are welcome to use. But maybe that could be a good starting point if your club is stuck and doesn't really know what it wants to do or how it wants to focus its energy. And then for the creatives out there, And really to amp up the cool factor, there is an Interact Annual Video Award. And I've also put a link to last year's winner out in the website. So, or out in this slide deck. So, I mean, there's lots of ways for kids to leverage their talents, to showcase what they can do, but to also showcase what their club is doing and to tell their story in a fun and interesting way. So here's some things that are good to know. I'm going to say it one more time. World Interact Week is November 5th, starts that week, November 5th through 11th. And then there are some administrative things that we do have to do to maintain the integrity of the information that RI has about knowing what clubs are out there. So every year you have to report your Interact Club advisor. You have to say, we've got one, we're good to go. That advisor needs to be certified for youth protection. Your president needs to be certified for youth protection. There's a guide, a link to the guide for the Rotary Club sponsors and advisors out here. Comprehensive information on Interact and Rotaract. Here's the youth protection information. I'm not going to go into that today, but know that if you're going to be involved with youth, you need to be certified. There's absolutely no leeway on that. You are not going to be involved with kids if you have not gone through the training and become certified. Here's a link to last year's winning video. There's a link to the Rotary citation for Interact clubs. And, some of us have heard about Early Act. There is some information about starting an Early Act. It's still not a sanctioned, recognized club, Rotary sponsored club, but we're doing them. And if anybody wants to start an Interact, I know someone I can hook you up with who can tell you, who can kind of guide you through that. So the Early Acts usually start in that 4th to 5th grade level. The middle schools can have an Interact, and then you've got your high schools. And all of those will feed Rotaract. And all of Rotaract will feed Rotary. One more thing is some important contacts. This is my contact information. I've got Caleb Sommerfeld's here. If you guys have a story you want to tell the rest of our district, hit up Caleb and send him your story. He'd love to hear it. I've got Caitlin Mangiacasale Ashford's contact. She's our 50220 Rotaract representative. We would love to grow Rotaract. And so, talk with her if you've got an idea for spreading Rotaract, either community-based or university college-based. She's a ton of energy. I bet Joey would be happy to help. His picture's smiling at me, so I assume he would love to help. I want to thank everyone for participating. I really look forward to taking our youth programs to the next level in the coming year. And again, if you'd like to join me in this, there's my contact. So thank you, everybody. Have an amazing afternoon, what's left of it, and be safe.